Right.
Now
Thank you.
you're going to be really tied in, Bronwyn. And do you want me to now do the intro, Ian?
Oh, I was going to do acknowledgement of country, and then
You can do that, and then
and
I'll
then
take
you're going
over
to do
after
the
that.
intro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and just admitting Gina. Right. Well,
Oh, good.
thank you all for coming. Just doing the acknowledgement to country. We here in the Sutherland Shire are on Dharawal country, and we acknowledge and forever the other people who are joining from different parts of Australia, whoever your um, Aboriginal clan of speaking peoples are. I guess we all acknowledge here particularly, we acknowledge the Dharawal people as the traditional owners of the land. We acknowledge their elders past, present, and those emerging. And we realise with respect the land was never ceded. Thank you.
And we should acknowledge whoever is the traditional owner of England, for Anton's sake. God knows how many times that's been invaded, Anton. And
Go back to the
and
Angles.
um, and for Giselle, did I get it right? That will
Yeah,
do.
Tuesday.
Okay,
juicy, juicy,
Giselle. That
juicy.
that is such a Chilean way of speaking Spanish. Who? What's your background, Giselle? Apart from
My
being from
background,
Chile.
uh, I, for me, my background is I studied to be an interpreter, a translator in Rome, and then I studied molecular biology.
This sounds a bit technical for me. Okay.
Mm.
Well
And then
done.
I
Congratulations.
decided to join the nature and be a naturalistic guide and a local insider with for local
Ah,
life in
which which takes
northeastern
us
Sicily.
now to Elaine, who's still
Yeah.
labeled Bronwyn at this particular page.
We might get everyone to turn their screens off and
And I'll
their
ask
sound
people
on
other than
on
Elaine to turn their
phone.
screens off
Where
and
do
to
how do I
now
do that,
mute.
Louise? How do I screen it off?
Well, I can do it for you.
Don't turn off.
I can't see how you do it.
I think Ian has done a very good job reducing everybody down to
Just
just
trying,
three
I'm
faces.
just trying to get Chris King. Well, Chris King is trying to get that video off. Stop video and Valerie. There's Valerie on the list.
She's on an iPhone, but she's muted, so I wouldn't get
Yeah,
too worried,
I'll
Ian.
get there.
Okay. Um, for those of you who have been walking around with Elaine and have been mystified by how anybody could go and spend her life taking photos with just, in inverted commas, a mobile phone, and yet produce extraordinary images, uh, you will be in for a rather pleasant surprise tonight. I've lent on Elaine twice now. I owe her, I think, a second favour. The first time was when I got her to write an article, you might remember, and she produced a wonderful article on the rock pools of the Sydney area and illustrated it furiously with all these beautiful images with just that mobile phone. I paid for that one, I believe, by taking her and a few friends up to the northwest of Sydney for an entire day of visiting national parks that I don't think she'd ever visited at that stage. She's now become an extraordinary walker all over the place, wielding still a mobile phone. I think you've upgraded since the first days, haven't you, Elaine, to a much,
Yes, I
much
have.
bigger one or a much more powerful one, anyhow.
Newer.
So the second big favour I asked Elaine was to present how in the hell she does take photos with a mobile phone. You will see not only does she do a good job with the equipment, but she has a really good sharp eye as to what makes a photograph. And I welcome her to now share her screen and take over the entire show. Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you, Brian.
Unless you want Bronwyn to do the sharing for you in the meantime.
Oh, she is.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You happy with that one?
Can you see the screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
How's that?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Go through the steps you did before, Bronwyn.
Go to the green button at the bottom of the page and put share, click share. It's got share written on it.
Hold on. Sorry, I've just got to close this. See, this is what happens to me at work. Zoom. Here we are. Yep, it says it's sharing.
It's probably sharing on your computer. Oh, no,
There.
hang on. Starting to share.
It's coming up right this
Right.
minute now.
Thank you. Sorry about
Done.
that.
Yeah.
Slideshow from the beginning. Away we go.
It's from the beginning.
And
There.
Okay. Can everyone see it?
Yes.
indeed we can.
Great. All right. So my talk tonight, I've titled it The Lighter Side of Photography. It's about taking photos with your mobile phone, and it's a wordplay on light, which is comparing how much lighter the mobile phone is compared to what I call the big cameras. So before I start, I know that there are a lot of really good photographers who might be listening in on this talk, and I've tailored my talk to an audience with very little presumed knowledge, so that anyone who joins the talk can follow and understand. So I'm going to be talking sort of from that level. So I just want everyone to just sit back and relax with your tea or your glass of wine, and let's just have a great evening. Okay, so just a little bit of intro about myself. I've always had a creative outlet from when I was very young. So when I was in school, I was into art. So I did a lot of painting. And when my kids were young, I loved scrapbooking. And when we started traveling, I then got into photography. So there's always been some sort of creative outlet, even though I have a scientific background in my career. So I have loved being able to take photos with my phone, with my mobile phone, but that wasn't how I initially started. So when I first started photography, I had a point and shoot Olympus. And then when it became a little bit more serious, I bought myself a DSLR. I had a Canon. And then I went on to a Sony mirrorless. And then from there, I started using the iPhone. So I've used the iPhone now probably for 20 over years. A lot of I've heard from a lot of people that the Samsung was really good. So for about a couple of years, I also bought myself a Samsung S23 Ultra. And for 2 years, I carried both mobile phones around when I went hiking. And I got to know the two phones so well that when I saw a particular scene, I knew which phone would be better for that scene or that subject. But now I have upgraded to an iPhone 16 Pro, and I just carry one now, like a normal person. So currently I use an iPhone 16 Pro. I've used it since April of this year. And when I was writing the slide, I counted the number of photos in my memory, and I was just under 36,000 photos in about 6 months. So I always buy a phone with the most memory because I am paranoid about storage. Some of the photos that you'll see in my presentation might come from some of my older phones, 1 or 2 models of iPhones before, some from my Samsung. So I average about 187 photos a day. The photo that you see is from a walk last year that we did, that I did with Brian, and This is the Goldilocks of sun orchids. It never blooms if it's too hot, too cold, too windy. It only blooms when it's just right. So when we walked past this track, there was one flower in bloom, and I was so excited. Firstly, I let out this huge scream, and then I took probably about 50 photos from different angles of the same flower. So we walked in, and then when we walked out, I took about another 40 photos of the same flower. So I had about 100 photos of this one bloom from that walk. So it's quite easy to see how I average 187 photos a day. So I now do purely mobile phone photography. I've given up my big cameras and I shoot now only with my mobile phone. There's a lot of advantages with a mobile phone. I change my phone every 2 years because the technology advances and improves so much. If you have a look at the photo on the screen, it is of two very tiny dewdrops on a leaf, and the resolution is amazing. So my last iPhone, which was 2 years old, I think this was taken with it. So you can see my current phone, which is not even the latest model, is even a lot better than this. So it's crazy to think that you can get a shot like this with just your mobile phone, but that's how much technology has improved. This is a tiny bee on a flower, and you can see how good the mobile phone is. You can actually see the hairs and even the pattern on its wings. So this is a long time ago when I was using my Canon. We were going to Positano on the Amalfi Coast, and I enrolled into a semester of classes just so that I could learn how to use the Canon on night mode because I really wanted to take a photo of the cliffs at night with all the lights. So I learned manually how to do the night shots. Then I booked a hotel with this balcony and this view. I set up my tripod. I followed all the instructions and I got the long exposure shots. And nature even obliged me by having a full moon on that night. And so I took several shots like this, and I was so impressed with myself that I was able to take a night shot with my Canon. Fast forward to today, this was a shot taken with my iPhone in Provence in May this year. It was done in 1 second. You know, I had a whole semester of classes to set up that one shot. But with the phone, they have night modes and it's done so easily. So it's a huge advantage with a mobile phone for anyone who has issues or who has trouble learning how to photograph manually with a camera. So I went back to Positano, and this was taken with, again, my iPhone, which was several models ago. And as you can see, like it's pretty good. I didn't have to set up my tripod. I didn't have to wait for a few minutes for the long exposure shot. It was a point and shoot, and it was pretty good. This was a night scene in Sicily. When I went, so Juicy, who's listening in, she was my guide when I was in Sicily and the Aeolian Islands. So this was in Catania. It was a beautiful night scene with cobblestones, and the iPhone just works so beautifully. Again, this is another shot taken in Catania. It's in a laneway and it's done so quick. So with one click, you can take the scene and walk away without anyone even looking up to realize that you've done the shot. So what are the other advantages of a mobile phone? I work with a lot of amazing photographers. So down in the foreground are three amazing photographers. The one with the red is David Bull. The one with the hat is Ken Griffiths, who wrote the book Snakes and Reptiles. And down on the ground is Brian. They all bring what I call their big cameras. And not only that, they bring multiple lenses. And so, they get amazing shots. However, if they're on the ground taking photos of orchids like that, and if there's a bird call, it's too late for them to switch their lenses. And conversely, if they're taking shots of birds in the trees, and if we find an orchid on the ground, it's a whole hassle for them to change the lenses to take that photo. Whereas, if you have a mobile phone, you're pointing and shooting and you get that straight away. The mobile phone is very portable. There are multiple ways you can carry it now. You can put it in your back pocket, you can put it in your handbag, you can strap it around the arm like a lot of runners. There's a waist pouch. A lot of women's tights now also have the pockets where you can put in your phone. There are cargo pants that you can slip your phone in. I know my friend Valerie wears it around her neck on a chain. It's so portable. You don't have to worry about lenses. And when I go out, I love taking photos of food. And so, when the food comes, you just stand up, click, and you can do very discreet food porn. So another advantage is selfies. Often we like to take a selfie when, you're traveling, when you're with like an iconic monument, just to show you've been there. And this, you might be alone and you want to prove that you're there, or you want to be in the shot, or you want to color coordinate with the Baroniers. It's great. You have the phone. Like, it's much harder to do this with an SLR. And this is what my sister calls weefies, where you have a group and you want everyone there to be in the shot. You just get your phone and get a shot, and everyone's in there, and it's often really fun. Okay, so those are pretty much some of the advantages of a mobile phone. So what are the disadvantages? On the left is my photo of a bubuk owl that we saw on a walk in Oatley. And that was on maximum zoom. And I never managed to get a decent photo of that owl. Whereas there was a man who was standing next to us, and he showed us the photo that he took, which is the one on the right. And it was so fantastic that I asked if he could text it to me, which he did, and he allowed me to share it with credit. So that is the photo of Mr. Sarath. And as you can see, there's no way I would be able to get that with my mobile phone. This is a huge limitation of mobile phone photography. The zoom now is obviously much better than it used to be, but it still has a lot of limitations. On the left is my photo of the peregrine falcon, taken. Firstly, I was so excited to spot it. It was sitting still and being very cooperative. And so I took a photo, but that was on maximum zoom. You can just make out that it is a peregrine falcon. On the right is David Noble's photo of a peregrine falcon, probably about 4 or 5 times further away, in full flight. And, I have to admit it's probably slightly better than mine.
It's slightly better.
Okay, so the resolution of the mobile, it is great. For some things, the resolution is fantastic. In some shots, as you can see here, some orchids are particularly difficult, like this one, and a few other flowers, where some parts might be in focus, but the others might not be. So if it focuses on one part, the other blurs. So it's really hard to get, the whole flower in focus. And again, Dave has this thing called stacking, which is, a whole level higher than just taking a photo with the SLR, where he can stack about 20 or 30 shots and put that together. And as you can see, the same orchid that I was trying to get a focus on and failed is in perfect focus, which you can also do with your normal big camera, but this is obviously a whole level up. Now, the mobile phones can get very frustrating at low light. So I find that with night shots, it is great, but if I'm trying to do a macro shot in low light, it is not great. It doesn't focus. You have to hold it so still to get anything that's not blurry. Fungi shots are particularly difficult. And before I go on, another disadvantage which I didn't put into a slide is often the resolution of a mobile phone photo is not so good that you can enlarge it and put it on a wall. So that's the other disadvantage. Okay, so this is how I would like to structure my talk. So what makes a good photo? When I went for the semester of classes, the teacher had said to the class, the thing that makes a good photo is 50% composition, 25% equipment, and 25% editing. So I think that this holds for whatever you use to take your photograph, whether it is with your big camera, a point and shoot, or your mobile phone. So this is how I will go through in my talk, and I'll talk through those three areas. So composition is, if you can compose well, that's 50% of a good photo, no matter what camera you use. So even without editing or anything else, if you can compose your photo well, that's 50% of a good photograph. So that's really important. The first thing about composition that I wanted to talk about is subject. When you travel or when you walk or wherever you are, often you look at a scene and you think, wow, this is really beautiful. I'm going to capture it. And that's great. Like if you're capturing a scene for your memory, that's no bad photo. So if you capture a scene and it's for your memories, great. It's a photo for yourself. But if you're talking about a photo from an artistic value, what you capture when you have to remember what you see with your eye is different from what you put onto a photo. Your photo is a square or a rectangle part of that scene. And I shot that photo in a market in Provence, and it was a beautiful market. But when you cut it into a rectangle like that, like there's no subject, it's nothing really special. But when you have a subject, so if you look at a scene and you want to shoot it, choose a subject because your eyes will get drawn to it and it makes the photo so much better. So whether it is, a market seller or a stall or someone in the scene, or something the stall is selling, just to draw your eyes in. So when you can see, if you look at a photo and there's an obvious subject, it makes the photo so much better. So this is a shot of my friend Jeanette, and this is taken at the Opera House, and I noticed the Harbour Bridge in the reflection, and that was going to be my subject. But I put her in because she added color to the photo. And her reflection, again, I felt lifted the photo even more. So when, your eyes focus in on the color, and then you look at the bridge in the background. So when you have a subject, it makes the photo so much better. This is a photo of in the island of Lipari in the Aeolian Islands. I walk past this group of men. The island is beautiful, so it's got a lot of beautiful scenes. But when I walk past this group of men who are chatting, they look like lifelong friends, and they were just chilling and chatting to each other. I thought, wow, that's such a great subject, and I really wanted to capture that. So I snuck this shot in, and I was very lucky to have the puddle of water where I could have their reflection in, and I was very proud of that photo. I loved it. It really showcased the Italian lifestyle, which, on the island of Lipari. So I thought, rather than, have a beautiful scene of the island, that to me, as a subject, just really encompassed how beautiful the island was. Okay, so the next part about composition is framing. So what is framing? That is that photo that you see is literal framing. You've got the trees on either side, you've got the subject. So the subject was me, and my friend Nikki took it, and I love this photo. That's literal framing, where you've got something on both sides. But framing is more sort of, if you think of, you've got your subject. Framing is trying to make the photo 3D. So you've got the background, and you want to try and put something in the foreground. And photographers call it depth of focus, which means, and what it really means is, you've got the subject, and you have something in the foreground it trains your eye to make the photo more three-dimensional. So you've got something in the front, something in the middle, which is usually the subject, and something at the back. And I just want to demonstrate it with this photo. So this is a picture of Gary Beach, which is open again. The background here is like all the headlands, and the foreground is this patch of grass, which is great. Like, it gives it a very three-dimensional view. However, the foreground is not particularly interesting. So again, when you frame your photo, you think about, what can I put in the front that will make it three-dimensional? And then you go one step further and think, well, out of all the things that I can put in the front, what are the things that might look even better or even prettier? So in this shot, what I did was I walked up the stairs, and again, I had the same subject, I had the same background, but I had a different foreground. So I used the flowers, the flannel flowers, and the other natives to frame it. And I'm sure we all agree this is a much better photo than the previous one. And that's by choosing the right foreground. Sometimes you can come across a ready-made frame. So this heart-shaped frame was on a seat in the town of Otisei, which is in the Dolomites. Sometimes you can have like a hole in a tree trunk or a little opening somewhere. Look around for it. So if you have, if you see someone sitting on a cliff and with a beautiful background, there might be a tree with a hole in it, or something that you can use as a frame to frame that subject. So what I'm trying to say is, when you choose your foreground, be imaginative, be observant, and often you can find things that you can use that will make your photos pop. This is when we had a weekend away in historic Hartley in the Blue Mountains. I love using flowers as a natural frame. I loved it when the wattles were in bloom, because not only did they provide amazing color, they were an amazing use of foreground for a lot of the shots. And in spring, when we have a lot of flowers out, I often use flowers to frame my photo, which I find makes the photo, because you have so much color, it makes the photos pop. Okay, so we've talked about foreground and trying to have the foreground, trying to choose it, trying to look for different ways to frame the photo. Now I want to talk a bit about background. So this is a shot of my dad. He came here for his 80th birthday, and he really wanted to go to Melbourne. So I took him on a driving trip to Melbourne. He wanted to see the trams. So I took this shot. But as you can see, you can, just like how you can choose your foreground, you can choose your background. As you can see, the background is really busy. You've got the wire lines, you've got the lampposts, you've got the guy in orange, you've got the yellow lines on the ground, you've got the crowds on the side. And so it is a really busy background. Some backgrounds you can edit out by, a lot of mobile phones now have the tool where you can erase things, which is fine if you've got, a really uncomplicated background and you just wipe out the person. When you have something like this, it is much harder to wipe it out effectively. I tried really hard to wipe out the man in orange and it didn't really work. So, when you take a photo, be conscious about what's in the background. The worst things in the background are toilet signs, rubbish bins, things that will spoil an otherwise great photo. So just like how you can choose your foreground, you can choose your background. This is a background that was taken just at the Sydney Opera House. So, it's nothing. It was probably like a background of grills or ventilation or something. But it had really clean lines and it had this homogeneous color. And and it had the ground, like the foreground with all the lines. And the colors were just amazing. So I told my friend to get into the frame because she provided color. And that photo just popped because of the right background. Sunset's always a great background. I love sunset. And this was when we went, I don't actually drink wine, but my friends gave me a glass of wine. Bronwyn gave me a glass of wine. And so
The photography.
so sunset, it's always a great background. We had a fire pit, and the colors of the fire really complemented the sunset and the color of the wine as well. So I had the glass of wine, and basically I was walking around looking for a great background. I put it down on the chair, and it was there. And so, that was the subject. So when you have a subject, you can look around for a great foreground, background, and when you have the right one, it really makes a great photo. So a lot of us are bushwalkers, we're hikers. We are out in the bush, we are out in the forest. It's very busy, there's a lot of things going on. The line, there's a lot of branches and trees and different distractions. So how do you get a good background? On the left is a photo of one of our native orchids, the black woodleaf orchid, which which I love. And I saw this one against this gum tree. And the gum tree was a fantastic background. And so, you know, you when you want to take a photo of a subject, you always have a choice. Use your eyes to pick the right foreground and background for your photos. So always think, always look, always be observant. On the right is a photograph of a mushroom in, is it Coachwood Glen? Coachwood Glen. It is a forest. It is very busy. And when I took that photo, it had a busy background, but I changed my position and I lowered myself so that it just had that. So that's the other thing you can do. Apart from choosing, you can change it by changing your position. So just be conscious of your background. So I like that background because it was, homogeneous and was green. And you had the wood as a really nice platform in the middle. So it can be done. So photography, sometimes, I've been talking about having backgrounds being very clean. Sometimes busy backgrounds work, especially with street art. So why it works is because it's all flat and you've got the people as the foreground. So it works. So busy backgrounds sometimes do work. You just have to be able to recognize it. And sometimes it actually adds to the photo, just like this one. So photography is all about fun. I love doing creative angles, and I think sometimes that's what makes a photo. This is an already amazing scenery that we were out in, I think it was the Central Coast somewhere, and it was sunset, and that was last light, which provided like really amazing lighting. The sky was amazing, the colors were amazing. We were on a bridge. And I'd taken already probably 30 photos of the scenery. So once you've had a lot of photos of the same thing, try and think to yourself, how can I make this different? How can I change it? How can I make this creative? And so I got down to the ground and took very close to the ground a photo of the bolts on the bridge. And they were silvery and it reflected the light beautifully. And I love shots like this where you can just make it slightly different. This is when I was taking my dad around on the road trip, and there was this amazing, I love storm clouds. There was this amazing storm clouds over the horizon. I knew it was going to make a good shot. So I got already a photo of the storm clouds over the fields. And I had my car as the foreground with the storm clouds in the background. And then I thought, well, what else can I do to make this even better? And so I noticed the yellow flowers and it added the color to the shot. So I got drawn low and I took that. And out of all the storm shots, this was probably my favorite. So it's just about looking for different ways to take the same photo, the same subject, the same background. This is a photo of our opera house, which is iconic. Everyone loves taking photos of the opera house, and it's sometimes nice to play around and say, well, how can I take a photo of the opera house differently and just make it look unique or different? And when you travel, it's the same thing. You might have taken lots of shots of the Eiffel Tower or the Statue of Liberty or something else, and you've done your traditional shots, but then you have your fun and you go, well, how can I take a different shot? Because often those turn out to be your favorites. So on the left is a photo of the sails of the opera house with the sun in the background. And often you see the opera house as a whole, you don't often see the little details, and I love that. And on the right is a photo that I took from the roof of the Museum of Contemporary Art. And I used the spoon to frame my shot. And I loved, and there was storm clouds in the background, and I loved how that shot came out. I love Banksias. So I always say to Brian, I think that the Australian plant kingdom is divided into three main groups. You've got the orchids, you've got the Banksias, and then you've got everything else. I love the Banksias. They photograph so well from the top. You've probably seen the shot from the top with the perfect circle. Sometimes I like taking it from different angles. So this is a shot from the bottom, and I love it just as much as the shot from the top. I've learned a lot from walking with the NPA. This is on Brian's walk. He took us on an art walk around the city. I had no idea who Linda Lee was until then. So that was an art piece from Linda Lee. That would be the traditional shot that everyone would take of this space. This is a fun shot. So, that was what I call a mirror selfie that I took of my friend Valerie and Sue. And then on the right is a photo that I took from one of those little holes where you can see the holes on the other side. And again, like I love those shots so much more than the traditional shot because it just made it so much fun. This was a beautiful sunrise in Cronulla, and I had probably taken like 50 shots of the sunrise as it was. So I always, try and look for something different. I had my sunny side and I could see the reflections of the girls that I was with behind me. I thought it was perfect to use it as a subject with the sunrise background. So again, just look around, have a bit of fun, learn to use different angles and different shots in your photos. Okay, so light is probably one of the most important, if not the most important thing in composition. It can be your biggest ally or your worst enemy. What I mean by that is it can make or break your photo. If you've got good lighting, you could have an amazing shot. If the lighting is bad, no matter what you do or what editing you do, it might only become very substandard. So light is the most to me, light is the most important thing to be aware of when taking your photo. And I just want to talk to you a bit about light and how to use it and and what to watch out for. sometimes you have to be really observant and use light in your photo. Sometimes you can use it to really be a feature of your photo. So on the left is a shot that I took at night along the beachfront in Bali. And I saw the lamps and the light coming through, and it had formed this amazing shapes on the ground. And not only do you use light, light can become a subject in your photos. So in that case, that was all about light play, about how it flat out the lines, which was just amazing. And on the right was a shot in the forest during fungi season. Again, when I walk past, the forest is often quite dark where the mushrooms grow. When I walked past, I just saw a stream of light shine on this tiny, tiny mushroom. And I knew it was going to make a good shot. So, when you see the light, when you see good lighting in a photo, use it. As you walk past, if you see something and the light shining on it, and if it looks great to your naked eye, it would probably look great through a camera. So always be conscious of light and lighting. So this was on the Otford to Bundina walk. It was a 30-kilometer day. We didn't have time to take a lot of photos. We were wanting to finish this before we lost light. But this was my friend Benny, who I think is watching today. As she walked out of this tree tunnel, I just noticed the light shine on the frame surrounding her. And the lighting was perfect. So, when you see light like this, you use it. I think I don't know whether I probably asked her to stop, but lighting is everything. So in this shot, it's not so much the trees or the foreground or the background, it's the light. So what's good light and what's bad light? Bad light to me is full sun. So when everyone says, wow, it's a beautiful day, there's not a cloud in the sky, that's what I call bad light. Because when the sun is right above your head, on the left is Olympic pool in the Royal National Park. And as you can see with the reflection, the sun is right above our heads. The color is completely flat. In other times, the pool would be an amazing green, beautiful color. The rocks will be yellow, the sky would be blue. But midday, we stopped for lunch, so that was midday. Midday and around sort of 1 or 2 hours around midday is probably the worst in terms of lighting because the light is so harsh that it washes out all the color. Versus good light, which is anytime from sort of early morning to a couple of hours around midday, and then from sort of mid-afternoon to late afternoon onwards is when the light is soft. And this would be around the same area in the Royal National Park. That was actually Southwestern Pool, which is not quite the same area, but roughly, you get my gist. The colors are so different. The trees are greener, the water is green, the rocks are yellow. That's bad versus good light. So when do you get good light? I love sunrise. I love first light. So the photo on the left is of first light. First light happens probably about 30 to 40 minutes before the sun rises. Sometimes when you're really lucky, you could get the most amazing light in the horizon before the sun even rises. And sometimes it's even better than sunrise. On the right is a photo that my friend Nikki took of me. And again, that was at first light when the sky's really soft, when the colors are really beautiful. It's one of my favorite times of day to shoot. Always out chasing sunsets. And this is a photo of Bronwyn that I took at Fortress Ridge, and the sun was just setting behind the mountains. At sunset, all the colors look vibrant. Everything looks vibrant. You don't even have to try. Her back looks especially red. The grass looks especially green. It's one of the best times to shoot. And again, you've got last light, which is the sort of half an hour to an hour after sunset. And sometimes last light, like first light, is even more beautiful, where the after the sun has set, the sky becomes even more vibrant. And when you shoot your photos, everything appears so much. The lighting on the rocks and the subjects are so much better. Okay, so golden hour. Golden hour is a lot of photographers love golden hour, and I talk about this a lot. Golden hour is an hour after the sun rises, and it's an hour before the sun sets. So really, like, nature has given you a lot of good windows to get great lighting for your shots. The left was taken in Bali. I've watched the sunrise, and for an hour, I had this amazing golden lighting to take all my shots. And it's the same thing. So that the second shot is also taken during golden hour. The clouds are just so soft. The reflection is just beautiful. I love being out at golden hour to get my photographs done. These are two shots that I took at the same place in Narawali. One is in the morning, and the other one is at last light. And as you can see, when you compare the light, it's so different. The one on the left was taken in the morning. It's not even at midday, but even then, the lighting on the right at last light is so much better. So I run a women's hiking group called Let's Hike Sydney, and we often have events. I take the girls almost every year to Mount Wilson. We love going there during autumn. I never cancel my walks, even if there's predicted rain, because I just love how all the colors pop in the wet. So um, as you can see, water makes everything more vibrant. And also you can bring very colorful props. And if it's rainy and it's overcast, all the colors pop, even if it's in the middle of the day. It's perfect. That's why I never cancel walks in Mount Wilson on rainy day, even on rainy days. This is the shot that I took of all the leaves on the ground that is wet after the rain, and the colors are just amazing. So my tip for photography on rainy days is to wear bright things and carry bright umbrellas. Amazing photography. Photographers love cloudy days. I love cloudy days. When everyone says, "Oh, it's a beautiful day, the sun is shining," I hate that. I love it when there are clouds. I love it when there are cloudy days because the lighting is amazing. The shot on the left is of the cliffs of Bandina. On a day where the sun is shining bright, you'll never get those colors. You know, the green and the brown and the rust and the gold, they all come alive when on overcast days. And again, the shots on the right, not only do clouds make dramatic background, the lighting is perfect. So when I'm out hiking, not only is it amazing because you don't have sun exposure, the temperature is amazing, but you have great lighting for your hiking shots. This was on a really beautiful day in Lura. The sun was shining really brightly. We're all in our big hats to protect against the sun. And as you can see, if sometimes you can't help it. It's a beautiful day. You're out, you're there, you know, you want to take photos. So these are the I just want to talk about what things to avoid if you can't if you're there and if you have full sun. So if you're taking a group shot, just like this one, um, you have to be conscious where you put your subjects. So I'm the one on the right, I'm in full sun, and Edna, who's on the left, is in almost full shade. And the two ladies in the middle are in half sun and half shade. And so this is a really difficult photo to improve and to edit because there's so much contrast. There's so much shadowing. You know, I did edit it and it took a lot of time, but if you can avoid placement of subjects like this, it's much better uh, to plan it from the very start than have to edit it after it's been done. So when you take a group shot on a nice sunny day, it's either all sun or all shade. Don't have half the people in the sun, don't have half the people in the shade. Try not to get irregular shadows like this that is hard to edit out. So if you have an opportunity to photograph something, I always prefer shade over sun. So that's a Warata in full sun, that's a Warata in full shade. The lighting is so much softer. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say about light. So we go on next to macro photography. So in macro photography, unlike general photos where the subject is so obvious straight away, macro is training your eye to look for something that's not obvious. So on the left is this bush, which looks like nothing. But when you go closer, it's a grevillea and the details are beautiful. This is also a compare and contrast of the grevillea shots. So in the grevillea park, again, you know, that's just a normal shot versus if you look closely and look for the details, you can end up with a great macro shot because it's all in the details. This is a plant called Lasiopetalim ferruginum, which is one of my favorite natives. When you look at it, it is really unimpressive. So when you look on the right, it looks, you'd walk past this plant. But if you take the trouble to flip it over, that's what it looks like. So in macro photography, don't judge a book by its cover. Things that appear very ordinary can actually be very extraordinary when you look at it closely. Look for train your eyes to look for colors and textures. So, the coloring, the patterns, and on the right is the flannel flower. So you often see the white flannel flower. If you look closely, you can see the little seeds, and you can also get like the little furry petals on the underside, which is great for macro. I love going to beaches and rock pools to look. That's another great place for macro shots. This is a photograph of a blue bottle. And again, when you take macro shots, you can move around. You can take this blue bottle from the tail, from the front. So just move around, use the lighting. Sometimes one angle can have better lighting than others, or one side can have can look much better in your macro than others. So move around, take different angles. When you compose a macro shot, don't be afraid to move things. So this is a little fungi that I took, and it had all these dewdrops underneath it. It had, a lot of twigs and different things. Don't be afraid to move them. So you can compose your shot. So I move little twigs, I move little things around it so that it was clean, and then I took the shot. So train yourself to look for things, to compose it, to move things around. Okay, so now I'd like to talk about knowing your equipment. So 25% of taking a good photo is your equipment and knowing how to use it, whether it's your big camera or whether it's your mobile phone. I have done a lot of courses in person on my mobile phone and also online. There is a online photography course, which I can give the details to Brian if anyone's interested. You need to know how to use your phone. So firstly, it's great to, a 10-year-old phone is different from the latest phone. So that's the reality. And even if you've got the latest phone, if you don't know how to use it, you're still not going to be able to take the optimal shot if you don't know how to use your phone. I bought a Samsung, and for 6 months, I couldn't take great shots with my Samsung just because I didn't know how to use it. I didn't know the functions. It took me 6 months to get used to it. So just having a good camera is not enough. You need to know how to use it well. These are the mobile phone features on my iPhone, which I'm sure you have in, all the different iPhones. You can now use it to do portrait modes and use it. So if you have a subject, a person, or if you've got a flower or different things, you can learn how to blur out the background and use portrait mode. You can also use long exposures. So the big cameras have the long exposures. You have to set it on a tripod. You have to wait for a while. It takes a shot. This is one click. And you can change it to the long exposure setting on the iPhone. It's so easy. That's also the panoramic shot. So this was a volcano on one of the Aeolian Islands in Vulcano. And I wanted to take the whole crater, and I wanted my husband and I to be in it. So I gave the phone to my guide and I said, could you take the shot for us so that we could be there and I could get the whole volcano in it. So again, it's one of the features on the mobile phone, which is amazing. There is also the vertical panoramic shot. So instead of going from left to right, you can also go from bottom to top. And this is really useful to take photos of, tall churches or trees or like tall buildings when you want to get the whole thing. So have a play around with your phone, learn how to use that. It can be amazing. This was also a vertical panoramic shot, which I flipped horizontally. So again, I started from the bottom of the ground, started from the shops, because there's all these umbrellas hanging up above, and I wanted to take the shot. It turned out so well. And again, that's learning how to do a vertical panoramic shot. So lastly, I just wanted to speak briefly about editing. I love editing. It's one of my favorite things to do. When I'm really stressed, I just pull out 10 photos and I edit them and it just calms me right down. It's one of my calming things to do. I try not to be overhanded in my editing. I love editing that is a little bit less obvious. So I'd like to go through all those different sections that's on the screen. This is one of the editing tools that I use the most. And when I ran a photography workshop with the girls from the hiking group, I said, when you have a photo, take the shot. When you edit, remember to crop, crop, crop. So what I mean by that is, the photo on the right, it is great, but sometimes there's too many distractions. There's too many things going on. Sometimes when you crop a photo, you can make it so much more powerful because it's a lot simpler and the subject becomes more obvious and pops up more. So as you can see, the photo on the right, I prefer so much more than the photo on the left, which is so much busier. Again, cropping, the photo on the left is of the dewdrop on the leaf, and I cropped it just so that I could have the dew and the sun behind it. And I think that the one on the right is a much better photo just because I managed to crop out a lot of the distractions. So sometimes when you take a photo and you go back and have a look at it, there's a lot of lines, there's a lot of distractions in the background. When I edit a photo, I have this I have this motto where less is more. I try and get rid of like the little car, the half car in the background, the little like shadow in the puddle of water, even the lines of the puddle of water. I think it's too distracting. I didn't need that. And so I cropped it. And I think the photo on the right, which is cleaner, it's a much better shot after editing. So less is more. This is a room at the Carrington where it was full of artifacts. There were lots of interesting things. If I were to take a photo of the room, it would be much too busy. So I concentrated on the one object and I blurred out the background to make it black and white. And I just retained the color of the lamp. And again, that's a good example of less is more, where don't be overwhelmed, focus on one thing and simplify it. So I took a photo of the room, and when I edited it, I cropped it and I got rid of all the distractions. This is one of it's a little thing, but it's also a big thing. I really don't like seeing the light spots. So whenever I'm out taking photos of sunrise or sunsets, you often get a green light spot. It's really easy to remove it because having it there, I think, makes a very sloppy photo. With the good phones now, with the phones nowadays, you can also get rid of people. So there's nothing wrong with this shot. It is we had this amazing sunset in Maroubra, but I prefer just having just a single person. I just think that makes it look better. So you can do that quite easily with your mobile phone in editing. This is a shot of Brian sitting down on one of our walks. And again, I can just do that. Now you see him and now you don't. So I think that was my last shot. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the talk. I hope you learned a bit. I'm happy to take a few questions if we have time, or I'm happy if you want to write and ask any questions. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Elaine. Just unshare the screen now so that we can see people. Well done, Bronwyn. You are a very good, useful person. Now, apart from the million lessons that I have learnt to apply, or hope I have learnt to apply, but we'll try to do so, are there any questions you would like to directly ask Elaine?
Lots.
Yeah, Helen here. What editing do you use? Just on the phone?
Yes, I use Snapseed and a combination of Snapseed and my phone.
And that's for Android as well?
I see that's the other thing about learning new equipment. So I had a Samsung, and even though I had it for 2 years, I learned how to use it, but not well enough to edit. I learned how to take photos on it. So what I used to do, which was really painful, was to transfer photos to my iPhone to edit, just because I knew my iPhone much, much better.
You don't use a desktop editing program?
No, I actually don't own a laptop or a computer. That's why I'm at Bronwyn doing this
Right.
talk. Because I obviously don't know how to use that equipment. I know how to use my phone, but not that equipment.
Now that was brilliant, Elaine. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
My fear for Elaine is that with one phone holding all those photos, will she commit suicide if she loses the phone or if there's a crash?
No, because I upload a lot of my photos onto Facebook. So that's my storage. Facebook is my storage.
You'll hear us screaming from here.
Ian, what was your question?
Oh, well,
You said millions a while ago.
I said lots. Yeah, I'm sure some people got lots of questions. I'm interested in why you've moved from Samsung to the iPhone. I read the different types of the grip and the actual overall comfort in your hand.
Yeah.
I'm also interested in the color saturation that you're getting, and yeah, and what do you specifically see as the advantage of the iPhone? Or you've gone up to it and you're not using the Samsung, so
Yeah.
what's your preference there?
Yeah.
What's
Um,
shaping that?
The Samsung is really good at zoom. It's much better than the iPhone. Even the iPhone 16, which is the current model that I use, is not as good as my older Samsung in zoom. Samsung has better colors. Sometimes I feel it oversaturates the colors. So when I edit my Samsung photos, sometimes I even desaturate it just because it's too much. I don't know the functions of the Samsung as well. So again, it comes down to knowing your equipment. So even if you have an older phone, if you know it really well, the chances are that you're going to be able to take a much better photo because you know it so well. That's 25% of a good photo. So the only reason why I've stuck with my iPhone is it is better. My current iPhone is so much better than my iPhone from 2 years ago. I feel that it's comparable to the Samsung. I know it better. I know how to use it better. I can edit it better. When I transfer my Samsung photos to my iPhone, I lose resolution. And so that's why I've chosen not to use it.
Second question, how do you find the iPhone is handling, compare the iPhone to the Samsung for capturing purples? Because it's often said that, any phone can take reds and yellows and greens, but it's the purple end. So when you're photographing something violet, how do you find the color authenticity with comparing the two?
Very interesting. So for 2 years, I carried both mobile phones. I was like a maniac. Every time, I had a scene, I shot with this phone, then I shot with that phone. I've noticed that, especially with first light, sunrise, sunset, last light, the colors of the Samsung and the iPhone is completely different. I actually prefer the colors of the iPhone. I think that at low light, the iPhone colors are better. With sunshine, the Samsung colors are more vibrant. sometimes too vibrant.
Do you ever use shutter priority for fast objects? Shutter priority? Have you tried that with your phones?
No.
That's more for moving objects, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi. Sorry, let me put the video.
Anton,
Yes, hi. I wanted to ask you, is
Yes.
it worth buying accessory for the phone? You know, the extra zoom and all these things they sell you to make your phone more powerful, you know, to zoom out more and stuff
Yeah.
like this. Have you
Nothing.
had one of you
No,
know
I
you
don't
don't
use
you
any
didn't buy any?
accessories. No,
No.
nothing.
So we have to find out ourselves and tell you
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
yes,
Just
Anton, you
just
do.
get the latest iPhone. Just get the newest iPhone. That's all you need.
At the moment, I got a Pixel 8, a Google Pixel 8, because I thought Google was better with the phone, but I will pass on the iPhone now.
Yeah.
But do note that bird photography is a bit beyond Elaine's mobile
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
phone.
As I mentioned.
which do you think has got the best zoom capacity of the two? I think you said the Samsung, didn't you?
Definitely the Samsung.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. I was out today, taking a photo of some Cymbidium suaves on a tree, and my iPhone was dismal. And I thought to myself, damn, I wish I had my Samsung.
You didn't find my little one, did you? I know where you were.
Yeah, I found lots of Cymbidium suave
Yeah, okay.
Medium suave.
swabs.
It is suave, yeah.
Can I ask another question? You
Sure.
showed a sun orchid with you used portrait to take
Yeah.
the photo. But
Yeah.
do you normally use macro when you're doing your photos, Elaine? Or portrait?
I use portrait if I'm taking a photo of the whole flower or the stem.
Yeah.
I use macro if I want to take a photo of and the great thing is your phone switches into macro mode automatically when it detects you're taking a macro shot. So it's so clever. So I
Helen,
do macro.
Helen, let me just explain, and for everybody else on the call who probably knows her, she has no time to work out what to do when she sees an orchid like that. All she's doing is screaming with excitement.
Point
And I
and
can
shoot.
assure you my old Samsung does
Yeah.
not automatically do a macro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Can I just say, here's another point. The Samsung does not take great macro shots. It does not switch into macro mode. It
Oh,
does
I
not
have to
take
do
good
it
macro
manually.
shots.
Yeah.
So what have you got to do with it? You actually have to tell it to go to macro?
What I do with the Samsung is I focus and then I zoom in because the zoom is its strength.
Mm.
So if you go too
I do that
close,
too with the
yeah,
Galaxy
that's
9.
all you can do. If you go too close, it doesn't do the macro.
Yeah.
Focus and then zoom in, and that's all you.
How about depth of field on a macro or something like that? Have you got the capacity to vary your depth of field a little bit, or do you just let the camera do the depth of
No,
field?
it's mainly trial and error, which is why with some orchids, you can't get the whole thing in focus.
Yeah.
It's hard.
So you can't change an f-stop. Is that what you're saying, Elaine?
I don't know whether you can. I haven't learned how to.
Yeah, my Galaxy tends to be in daylight photography, it's always, f 2.8 or something like that.
Mhm.
Uh, whatever it is.
It being nearly 8, oh gee, we've gone well and truly over our normal time.
Sorry.
That is no sorry required, Elaine. It just means how fascinating you have been.
I did cut down.
Look, even your daughter is still with us, and usually they leave a long time ago.
I'm super enthused by all of my mother's great talking points, of course.
I noticed, Celine, that you obviously got her not to put too many photos of you in.
Yeah, she can just put in my grandpa, that's enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we had a few people clapping there in the.
I think yes.
Oh, thank you.
And officially and formally, Elaine, thank you very much. You surpassed my expectations, and my expectations were very high already.
Oh, thank you.
They were really wonderful, and I must see if I can get time out in the next day or two to go wandering looking for a potato. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
It was my
And
pleasure.
Ian, you can turn everybody off now, I think.
Well, because I'm the king and I have the last word, I just wanted to say, Elaine, also your presentation of your PowerPoint was excellent. You know, your juxtaposition of your photos with your captions was brilliant. Your
Thank
choice of
you.
photos was excellent. You know,
I was freaking out. I haven't done PowerPoint for over 20 years. I don't have a computer, so that
and
was
also,
I
very
do believe that there was a certain amount of help for getting the PowerPoint
Yeah.
together, wasn't there,
Yes.
Elaine?
and the delivery was excellent. So
It was
Thank
brilliant,
you.
yeah.
110 points out of 100. Well done.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you
you,
very much.
Ian.
No, thanks. Okay.
I've never seen a whole pile of beautiful hearts floating up as the
No, who's doing that?
Oh.
Okay. Well, thank you,
Oh,
everyone.
well, your daughter is.
I'll stop the recording first of all, and then we'll know that that's finished. So here we go. We're stopping the recording. Let's see how it works.